Hi, this is part three of a series of short videos on how to use Tellurium, our Python-based biochemical modeling package. So this starts off from where we left behind last time. So last time we imported Tellurium, we created a simple model, and we did a simulation and a quick plot. So in this one, I want to expand on simulate and plot because there's a lot more you can do with them. So the first thing you may notice is that the plot here in the top right-hand corner went to just 5 time units, and you can see maybe there's still stuff happening, and maybe we'd like to go beyond 5. Maybe you want to go to 15 time units. Well, that's very straightforward. You can just add more arguments to the simulate. All right, so the first argument is the time start. Second argument is the end time. So let's just run that. So to run, remember, we go to the green button, click that. Then now you can see it's gone from 0 to, actually it's gone to 15, even though it doesn't show the 15. And you can see now we get more of what is happening in the simulation. The other thing, sometimes you might find that you can see that these lines are quite smooth, but sometimes you might notice that they're made up of straight edges. That's because, in fact, there's a limited number of points here. Now I can change the number of points I actually want to use, just for illustration. Let's say I only specify 5 points. If I run now you can see the straight edges, okay? So that doesn't look great, okay? So especially if you want to publish this. So what you want to do is you want to increase the number of points, and maybe you want to do 200 points, and now you get a nice smooth curve. So the third argument is the number of points you want plotted. Now, the other thing we can do is what happens if I actually want the raw data that's coming back? At the moment, I'm just seeing a plot, but I actually want the raw data. Well, this simulate command does actually return the raw data, and I can just ask it to store that raw data in a variable m. So let me run this. Now down here in the interactive prompt, if I hit m, you see I get all the data. And what's nice about this data that comes back, it's a NumPy array, but it actually also labels the columns to tell you what column is what. So the first column is time, then the remaining 2 columns are the concentrations of A and B. In fact, this is a pattern you'll see. Whatever simulation you do, you'll always get time in the first column and then all the variables in the subsequent columns. Okay, so I could do whatever I want with this data. I could save it to file or whatever, analyze it for other stuff. Now the R plot also takes some extra arguments. In particular, you can, for example, set the title, right? And you can set the X title, which of course will be time. Maybe it's seconds. Okay, let's just run that, see what happens. Go to the green button, hit it, and now you can see I've got a title, and I get the time in seconds. And if I want the y-axis, I just go y title as well. Okay, say concentration. All right, hit the run button. Now I get concentration up here on the y-axis. Now this brings me to another thing. Is how do I know all this stuff? I mean, how do I know that I can set the title, the X title, and the Y title? Well, there's quite an extensive help system in Python, and to get help, all I have to do is put a question mark and then type in the thing I want help on. So hold on, r.plot. Now, if I do that, I get all this help. Well, there's a whole bunch of help here. In particular, this one gives you some clues. For example, these are the X, Y titles. This is the main title. But you notice I have things like log scales. I can set log scales. I can stick on a grid. Let's do the let's stick on a grid to see what happens. So I just type grid equals true, and then you can see I get a grid. Okay. The other thing I can do is let's ask for help on simulate. All right, that's a pretty big one. And here you can see, again, we have, this is the start time, the end time, number of points. We also have things called selections. That's a really useful thing to know. Let's say, for example, I didn't want to see A and B. I just wanted to see A. What would I do? Well, I can ask it that. I can tell simulate, just tell me about A. I don't care about B. So I can just type in here in square brackets, I can type in a list of things I want to come back. In this case, I want time in the first column, A in the second column. Let's run this and see what happens. Okay, now you see we're only getting A. Okay, and I can do the same here. I can put B instead if I want. Plot that. Okay, or if I really want, I can plot A versus B. All right, that basically gives us a phase plot. In this case, it's not very interesting. One last thing, if you're running from the command line, let's say I type simulate here, the minute I open the brackets, I get the help immediately popping up. This happens in most environments, including Jupyter notebooks and so on. It's very, very useful. You can see immediately, you know, some of the names of these things that you want to use. And if you want more help, you just use the question mark. But this is really super useful for getting help. Okay, I think that's it for that video.